Today I feel pretty lucky. I feel lucky because it's a beautiful spring morning here in Italy. Next week I'm going to go to Milano for a couple days. Got a nice rate on a train ticket. I feel lucky today because it's a beautiful day, and whenever it is, it just makes me feel like I want to travel somewhere. I feel lucky because I get to think about places to go to all the time. Scotland or Ireland. And of course I'm thinking about England and London in these times where such a terrible thing has happened just recently. I'm also thinking about places that are a little bit nearer to my home here in Padova, like Bologna, for instance. And of course, when I think about traveling, I can't stop thinking about Asia. Places like Vietnam and Cambodia. I don't think there's a greater place that I've visited in most recent years than Istanbul, Turkey. And on a day like this, even New York City would be someplace that I would love to go see again. On Facebook, I've been following a writer friend of mine, someone that I met for the very first time actually in Vietnam, and she's been traveling through Egypt for the last month. So I have a question for you. What do all these places share in common? One person that I follow on Facebook is the famous travel writer, tour operator, Rick Steves. When something like what just happened recently in London makes us think about traveling and safety, it's a natural reaction to take a moment to pause and really think about things in terms of traveling. Of course, it even makes me think about things a little bit more carefully. And I remember just the other night going through YouTube and coming upon a video that Rick Steves did, and it was about terrorism, so I decided to watch it. In that video, he goes on to explain how the world is sometimes a dangerous place, and that we have to go about our travel plans with caution and to be vigilant. But the thing that really struck me the most about this video was that he mentioned in it that terrorism is not something new. It's been around forever. And it's just something that's part of the human condition. Whether we like it or not, I don't think it will ever really go away. It's my opinion, and it's only my opinion anyway, that anything that involves violence is an act of terrorism. We get wrapped up in what the news tells us all the time about crazy people going out and killing people for no reason at all. And now not only do they use guns or knives, they use cars, or bombs, of course. They use anything that's at their disposal to create harm and to make us all feel unsafe. When I owned a printing company, one of my clients was, I guess, sort of like a halfway house for women that were abused in relationships. In LA, it's not uncommon for someone to go into a fit of road rage and pull out a gun and shoot someone. And even though I don't want to be political in this video, I think about the scenes that I saw at political rallies during the 2017 presidential election. Or can any of us really ever forget the complete violent and horrific events that led up in 1998 to the death of Matthew Shepard, who was his body strung on a fence and left to die. Below here is a link to the video that Rick Steves did about terrorism and travel. The video that he shot in 1990. My point is that terrorism is here to stay, but we can't ever give up the right that we have as individuals to travel and to experience new cultures. And we can't judge other people that we've never met by the actions of just a few. I refuse to live in fear, and I refuse to give up the chances that I have to travel and see new cultures just because something bad has happened there in the past. I'm not saying that I'm not careful or that I don't make sure I look what's going on around me, or make stupid decisions about going to places that are on high watch alerts. It's not worth it. There's so many different places to see in the world that sometimes if some place is unsafe to a certain degree, it's okay to skip it. But the message that I want to give you today is that the opportunity to travel and to meet new people and to see new cultures, you can't give that up just because of the actions of a few. Look, I know it's easy for me to say these things because I've been fortunate. I've never been in a situation where I've feared for my life, and I haven't ever been in a dangerous situation that I've known of. And I've traveled quite a bit. And of course, it's easy for me to say all this, and the people that might be watching this who have maybe lost loved ones or been in unfortunate situations where terrorism has changed their lives, you know, my heart goes out to you. I don't know, I don't have words. I can't imagine what you're going through, and I don't want to make this seem like something that I'm brash or brazen or what have you about saying to people out here that they should go travel. You always have to be safe and you have to be vigilant, but you can't let the actions of a few dictate the way that we want to live our lives and to experience culture. We have to remember that we as humans become enriched in many different sorts of ways, through reading, through our work experience, through our families, through our religions. But we also become enriched through different opportunities to see different cultures. I don't think I would be half the person I am right now if I stopped traveling. It's something that's just not on my agenda. Fear is a powerful force that tears apart families and leads to governments that are totalitarian and dictate the way that people live. It also creates religions that feed upon people's fears and makes them want to reject other people because of other beliefs. The fact is that humankind has always been a race of explorers and individuals that want to see and experience new places and new cultures. There's always a risk of going to new places and discovering new lands and new cultures. Think about the people that founded America. Better yet, think about the Eskimos that went over the Bering Strait to discover America. And depending on what your belief system is, think about God creating the mountains and the rivers, the very first things that were in America. The fact is that living is always about risk and reward. And if you don't live, there's no reward. And there's always going to be some sort of risk. But I refuse to live a life of fear, and I refuse to live a life on a sofa parked in front of a television set. I want to go and explore. I want to see things that I've never seen before, and meet people that I've never met before. I want to meet you, and I want to meet you. I want to go back to Vietnam, to Istanbul, to New York City, to Milano, to Bologna, to London. I want to stay at crappy hotels and eat terrible food, because I know that the more I do that, the more places I'm discovering that no one else ever has. I'm not a particularly brave person. I just want to go see things. I can't help it. I cry and I grieve for the people that lost their lives just recently in London. And I cry and I grieve for all the acts of violence that happen in our world all the time, most of it never recorded or even acknowledged by anyone. But despite all that, I will continue to travel, and I will continue to push myself to see new things that I've never seen before, and I will continue to share it with you. And if you continue to watch it with me, I appreciate it. Most recently on my trip to the United States, I came upon this book, Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur, and something strikes me, one of the things that she wrote in here. I'd like to read it to you. Perhaps the saddest of all are those who live waiting for someone they're not sure exists. And then she says, 7 billion people. waiting for the most opportune time to travel because you're fearful of recent events that have cast fear in some just doesn't compute to me. If we're all left waiting, we never experience the living. I don't know much about Rupi Kaur. I know that this book is, I'm not really the target audience of this book, but you get a sense that in her young life she lived a lot of time in a state of fear. But she discovered that she was more than that she had a strength in her to overcome that fear and to turn some of that fear into something good and something healthy and something that she felt compelled to share. I feel the same way. I don't want to fear anymore. I lived a life for a long time of not wanting to take risks, and I discovered that I was a very unhappy person during that time. Now I'm a much happier person. In fact, I have to even tell you, I'm a much more joyful person. And I love my life, and I love traveling, and I love seeing things that I've never seen before. And I love sharing it in my photography and my books, and now through video. I'm not going to give up traveling, and I'm not going to let people that create horrific acts of violence against others make me stop. I'll be vigilant. I'll make sure that I look behind me. I won't take chances at fast food restaurants I don't know anything about. I'm going to live a life of being out there in the world, and I want to see you come along with me. Rupi writes in another section of her book these words: I want to remain so rooted to the ground, these tears, these hands, these feet sink in. You know, I want to live a life that's grounded, but I also want to live a life that gives me wings. More than anything, I want to live by these words that Rupi wrote towards the end of her book. Give to those who have nothing to give to you. For me, that's what it's all about, don't you think?